Hi everyone. Good evening. I hope you are able to hear me. Can anyone please confirm?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, you are audible.
Perfect. Yeah. So in the last session, we have seen what do you mean by ETL processing that we discussed about it. ETL processing and how exactly the traditional processing, how exactly it was there that we discussed as part of in the last session. And we have seen the what is OLTP system. OLTP system will be used to run the business. And whatever the data that we are going to collect from our business applications, so those data is going to be captured by the OLTP system. Okay, so we can also call them as a business systems. And then we talked about the DWH. What is the purpose of the DWH? How data was used to move in the traditional systems. So that we came across it. And then we talked about the data lake. And we are going to talk about this data lake more in detail when the time comes. But at this point of time, I mean to say, in the last time when we compared with these two systems, why we need to come out of this DWH to a data lake that we discussed. Like the systems are going to support only structured data. You cannot store semi-structured data. You cannot store unstructured data. Or these two types of data is not going to be possible to store here. Whereas in the data lake, we can store it. We can store all varieties of the data. We can store very huge volume of data as part of this data lake. So because of that reason, the market is looking towards to the data lake. So data lake was there with the Azure, and data lake is there with AWS. Data lake is there with the GCP. And even if you go for Databricks, even if you go for Databricks also, we are going to have a data lake. Of course, they're going to depend on either Azure or AWS or something else, something like this. They're going to depend, but still, we required a data lake. So, as we discussed, even in the demo, there were two problems as we discussed. One is a storage problem, right? Storage problem. And the second is a data processing. These two problems were there. In order to provide the solution for these two problems, we are going to take the Azure services. So there are other services also is there in the market. Previously, we have a Hadoop in order to provide the solution for these two problems. Okay, so now we are going to use Azure services. We are going to come across with the Azure services. Okay, so storage is required, data processing is required. If you take your laptop is having a storage, right? You can store the data in the hard disk. In the same way, I'll talk about this at the time of Spark introduction and why we need to come out of Hadoop to Spark and Spark to Databricks, how it was evolved, the data processing activities. We are going to talk about little more in detail, but at this point of time, let me say your Hadoop distributed file system will be used to store the data. So what kind of data? Very huge volume of data, varieties of the data you can store, and very like if you have a massive volume of data is coming on day to day, that also you can store it. So that is having a very huge capability. And for some reason, we are coming out of it and we're taking towards to the Azure services. So what reasons there? At the time of Spark introduction, I'm going to talk about all this journey of how this big data technologies evolved right from the Hadoop. And now, when it comes to the Azure, how can you store the data? In Azure, I have a Azure, and you're trying to store the data into this Azure. To store the data here, how you can take it? Your Microsoft Azure is having a varieties of the services. So Microsoft provides a service for web developers. Microsoft provides the services to data storages. Microsoft provides the services for infrastructure. Whatnot, many things can be provided by Microsoft Azure. But Microsoft more and more concentrated on data processing jobs or data processing services. So data services, they concentrated more on the data services. Because of that reason, in the market, if you compare with any other cloud vendors, Microsoft is the number one. So more jobs are there with Microsoft or data services. So it was the number one in the data processing side. Okay, so now in order to process the data, first you need to store the data. Then you can think about processing. So I'm going to talk about the first storage, and then we'll talk about the data processing. Now, as a developer or as a user, how you're going to connect to this Azure? How you're going to connect to Azure to take the services from here? So for storage, I have a services. For data processing, I have a services. Depends on your business requirement. You're going to take the services from the Microsoft Azure. I wanted to process the data. I wanted to process the data. If I wanted to process the data, then I required processing services. Or if my requirement demands to store the data, then you need to have a storage services. Whenever you're going for data processing jobs in the Microsoft Azure, then definitely you're going to have a storage services as well as processing services. So both we are going to have it. Both we are going to have as part of this. Now, let me talk about, okay, so for all these things, I have a DP 700 note, guys. If you're interested, I'll give it DP 900. So basics of data processing. So DP 900 certification is going to help you to understand the basics of Azure, basics of data processing, especially not DP 700. DP 700 is administration side, and DP 900 is specific to data processing. Okay, so this certification will be lifetime. Okay, so it is not going to expire. And DP 203 was expired. No more DP 203. We have a, in place of that, we are having a DP 700. Okay, so if you're interested to write these certifications, I'll give it dumps for both of them, and you can try from your side. Okay, so if you're interested, but this particular training is specific to working point of view. So working is different, certification is different. If you're already working, definitely you know about it. If you complete the certification, it doesn't mean that you're perfect in the technology. Okay, so if you're really interested to go with the certification, definitely I'll help you to make it. I have a material for DP 900, and of course, for data engineering, also we are going to have a material. But dumps also have, I'll save the dumps and you can prepare yourself and you can attempt it. But this particular sessions are specific to working point of view. So this kind of skill set you cannot get from outside. I'm not targeting only certifications. I'm targeting majorly on working point of view. That's fine. Now I wanted to take the services. I wanted to take the storage services, or I wanted to take the data processing services. Then you have to connect into this particular place. So Microsoft Azure gives the infrastructure services. So most of the cloud providers provides in 3 different categories of the services majorly. One is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. They will give infrastructures to you, and you can use that infrastructure. You can have your own operating system. You can have your own softwares, and you can have your own control. You will be having control on the operating systems. You will be having a control on the operating system. In the same way, Microsoft is having one more category, that is PaaS services. So whatever we are going to come across data engineering services, all those services are going to fall under the PaaS services. So Microsoft provides a platform to you. We don't need to care about the operating system. We don't need to care about any installation, and we don't need to upgrade. We don't need to take care anything. We are just going to use it. They will give the platform, use that platform to provide the solution for your big data or for your data. And then we have a other third category of the services is SaaS services, software as a services. So you can ignore this. This is not going to part of us. Of course, when it comes to the fabric is coming under SaaS services. And I'm going to give the brief idea about the fabric, but we are going to see majorly on Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. So rest of all the services are supporting services like Azure Key Vault, Azure SQL Server, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So all those things we are going to come across it. Now, we have some services here. As I said, most of the times, or if you ask me, I say 100% we are going to use PaaS services. 100% we are going to use PaaS services only. Now, I want to take the service from here. If I wanted to take the services from the Microsoft Azure, then you need to be tenant in the Microsoft. You need to be tenant, or you need to have an account in the Microsoft Azure. So once you have an account, then you can go inside this. This is like a store. Okay, so if you have an access card to go inside the store, then you can go it. Your access card is something like your tenant or account. So once you go inside the store, if you are interested to buy, you can buy. If you are not interested to buy, then you can come out of it. Okay, so if I need whatever the service I need, I can go and take it here. Now, in order to take any service from the Microsoft Azure, we need to be tenant, right? So to create an account is required. To be tenant, we need to have an account. Now the question is, how can we create an account? To create this account, you need to have a Outlook account. Outlook account, or simply I wanted to say Microsoft account. Or you can also have a Hotmail account. So these two are from the Microsoft. And you can also have a Gmail account also. So Gmail account also you can keep it in order to create an account. And then even if you have an Office 365 account also, you can use it. But since you're working, right, so I don't recommend to use your Office 365 ID. Just use your personal accounts, because you have to use paid subscription also at some point of time. Okay, so if you're already working, if you're having a situations to use the account, then you can use it. But have a separate your own account, even if you're working. I recommend to have it. Okay, so how we can create this account and how we can set up this entire thing, I'm just going to take you through on Saturday. I'll take one-to-one. I mean to say, we'll connect to set up the account, because this is something that we need to spend some time. But for time being, in order to set up this, I wanted to say either you need to have this account or this account. If you have a Gmail account, you need to make this as a Microsoft account. So how we can make it, we'll see. Okay, if you're having a Gmail account, you can also use that. And credit card is required. Credit card is required, or even debit cards also. Some banks only it is getting allowed. A debit card also will be possible to use it. And they're going to give a free trial. Okay, so by using that, you can have a free trial. Okay, so free trial account is going to be 30 days is going to be available, or they're going to give some credits. Let's say, so 13,500 credits. So just imagine roughly, I'm not exactly the number, not exactly sure about the number, but just imagine 13,500 credits was there, and these credits need to use in 30 days. Okay, so once these 30 days are completed, your free trial is completed, or if your credits are completed, your free trial is completed. Then you may have a question, then what about if trial is completed? So if trial is completed, you can go with the paid subscription. That is one option. Another option is you can have one more new credit card. If you have a new credit card, whatever the steps we have done, all the steps you can do it, and you can have a separate account. You will get 1 more month free trial. Okay, so that is one option. But I recommend to go with the paid subscription. The reason is, if you follow with me, max to max, you're going to get 500 rupees per month. I'm sure. If you can follow with me, max to max, you're going to get 500. So spending 500 rupees per month is not a big deal. We're all ready to spend it. Even I'm using a paid subscription completely. Okay, 1 minute, please. Yeah. So I'm going to use the paid subscription because when we go for Databricks, if you wanted to work with if you wanted to practice with the Unity catalog, then definitely you need to have a premium capacity. So in that case, we require paid subscription at any cost. But most of the things we can do as less as possible. I'm going to take you through the cost so that you can reduce it. Now, for time being, since I'm already having account, I'm going to use that account. You just imagine you're having account in your hand. I mean to say, you're having account to take the service from here. So to take the service from here, we are going to use the portal dot azure.com. So we are going to use portal.azure.com. So this is going to help us to go into the store, into the Microsoft store. Okay, so Microsoft store or Microsoft brand called Azure. Okay, so let me show you how we are going to do it. So portal.azure.com, we are going to have something like this. We're going to use this. And this is the place everyone we are going to use. And if you're having access, you can consume the services from the portal.azure, or you can also go in a different way also. I'll talk about it at this point of time. You just imagine we need to go through the portal. So when I hit on enter, it will ask the username and password. Username and password is going to be asked. Okay, so you have to enter it. So since my password and username was saved with this browser, it will take you inside directly. It will take you inside directly. Now you can see here. So this is the portal. Okay, so once you come into the portal, you're going to have this. And this is the portal menu. And this is the place where we are going to do the global search for the services. Global search. So all the services in this particular place, you can get it within your tenant. And frequently used services we are going to have here. Since it was old account, I'm able to see frequently used services. Okay, so here also recent services you can see in this particular place. And in this place, we are going to have an account. Okay, so even Copilot is integrated. Many things are available in the Microsoft Azure. So this is an account. Okay, so this is an account. So I'm having a Outlook account. So better use the Outlook account. It will be easy to deal with Azure DevOps. So I recommend to have a Microsoft account, either Hotmail or Outlook account. Now, once I come to here, if I wanted to take any service, let's say, for example, I wanted to take the Azure Databricks, or I wanted to take the Azure Data Factory. So whenever I wanted to take the service from here, from the cloud, if I wanted to take it, then definitely what you required is subscription is required. Account is required to come inside the market or to come inside the store. So once you come inside, then in order to access the services from here, subscription is required. subscription is required. So subscription is going to say your bill. So how much you consumed, because Azure or cloud is going to pay based on your usage. So pay as you go model, they introduced it. Pay as you go model, we have it. So whatever you use it and pay for that. If I use for 1 hour, then you just pay for 1 hour. If I use for 1 hour, then pay for 1 hour. So this kind of capabilities you cannot get in the private cloud, or you cannot get in your on-prem systems. So that is only possible only when it comes to the cloud. So to get your bill or to decide how much you consumed from the Microsoft Azure, we required subscription. We used to call it as a subscription. Without subscription, you cannot take any service from the Microsoft Azure. Without subscription, you cannot take any service. So to take the services from here, you need to have a subscription. I hope everyone with me. Any question as of now?
No, boss.
No, boss.
Perfect. Now, I'm just going to take one service here. Just observe. I'm trying to take the storage accounts. So we are talking about the storage, right? So Microsoft is providing a data lake storage with storage accounts. So Microsoft journey, I mean to say specific to the storage, we were having initially, they introduced blob storage. Okay, so blob storage means like binary large object. They're going to store the data in the form of blob, binary large object. Okay, so they're not going to store in the form of file. They're going to store in the form of object. Even S3 bucket also does the same thing. And ADLS also does the same thing. Even if you go for GCP also, they're also going to do the same thing. So they're going to store in the form of binary large object. So they introduced with the blob storage account in the starting, very starting of the Azure. So later, this particular storage was not suitable for big data processing. So because of that reason, they came up with the ADLS Gen 1. ADLS Gen 1. So this Gen 1 was designed for big data processing. To speed up the big data processing, they came up with this one. Okay, so the one fine day, they decided why we need to have two services to store the data. So why don't we combine both together and name it as a ADLS Gen 2. Okay, so they have taken besties from the Gen 1 and besties from blob storage, and they combined together and named it as Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this Gen 1 was deprecated, and we are having only ADLS Gen 2. And this is going to, I mean to say, basically the exact name was given as storage accounts. The service name is storage account. This storage account is going to help you to create a both account. One is blob account and other is ADLS. So these two accounts will be used to store the data. So Microsoft is giving two platforms to store your data. So this blob is for general purpose storage. So general purpose means you're not interested to process the data. So you're not going to process all the data, whatever you're going to have it. You may keep some backup data also, right? For some reason, you may back up the data. So in that case, you're not going to process it. For future reference, you're just keeping a backup. In that particular case, you don't need to keep the data in the ADLS Gen 2. Just keep it in a general storage, general purpose storage. So this general purpose storage, the cost is less when you compare with the ADLS Gen 2. But if you wanted to process the data, always recommended to keep in the ADLS Gen 2. In my entire experience in the data engineering from the Microsoft Azure, we were used only ADLS Gen 2. Even now also, I'm using ADLS Gen 2. So currently also I'm working. So we are using Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 only. So that means we have to know about this Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, so we don't need to spend too much time with the basics of your Azure services, guys. because whatever I'm taking you through this is going to help you to understand before starting the actual data engineering activities. So if I directly go and take the data factory and explains, then you will get a lot of confusion. So why we need to take a ADLS or why we need to take a data factory? So you will be having these confusions. To avoid them, I'm just taking you through how we are going to handle it. Clear?
Hello.
Yeah, please. Any question?
Hello.
Any question, please?
Yeah. Then why we have this blob storage?
This blob is for backup purpose. Let's say, for example, you are having some databases. You are taking a backup. So back files.
Okay.
You're not going to process this data. You're going to keep it inside this for feature purpose or for some purpose you're keeping it. Okay, so instead of removing, you're
Okay.
just keeping that data here. You're not processing it. For that reason, you're going to have it. And one more thing is you're going to create a virtual machines. Microsoft is providing IaaS services also, right? Infrastructure as a service. If you're taking a virtual machine here, this virtual machine is going to store in the blob only, blob storage only. You got my point, right?
Okay.
So other people also,
Yeah.
apart
Whatever
from
the raw data it's coming, just
exactly,
we are.
exactly. And apart from the data engineers, other people also going to use the storage. So for them, Microsoft recommends to use the blob storage. The intention of this ADLS Gen 2 is to process your big data. To accelerate your big data processing, we are going to use Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So now I wanted to show you how we can create a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account. How we are going to create a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account. I'm just going to take you through. So once you're there in the home, you can search for very starting, you can search for storage account. Storage accounts. I'm just taking that. So once I take it, it is going to open this. So I'm already having other services, other storage accounts. I'm just going to create a new storage account. Plus create. So let me talk few things here about the storage account. As I said, by using this, we can create a blob account and we can create a ADLS also. ADLS Gen 2. Azure Storage is Microsoft managed service. So it is managed service. We are not going to manage this service. Your Microsoft itself is going to manage it. So the storage is going to be highly available, secure, durable, scalable, and redundant. So all these points I'm just going to give little later. I can understand. So even if the entire data center is down, still you can access the data. At the time of redundancy, you can understand how we are going to make this highly available. If you have a laptop, if the laptop was crashed for some reason, then you cannot collect the data. You cannot get the data. So just imagine it was broken. There is no point even to get it. But when you have a storage account, then definitely you can collect it. You can have it. So most of you are aware of Google Drive, right? Most of us are aware of Google Drive or OneDrive. So all these things all these systems are cloud systems only. So there will be no impact when you have a cloud systems. So how we can make it, we'll see that. So in order to create or in order to take any service from the Microsoft Azure, in order to take any service from the Microsoft Azure, we require subscription. Without subscription, you cannot take any service. So what services we require for Azure Data Engineers is ADLS Gen 2 is important for us. 100% we are going to use it. And Azure Data Factory we are going to use. Azure Databricks we are going to use. And Azure Key Vault we are going to use. It's very, very important. We cannot avoid that. And Azure Logic App is required. Azure SQL Server is required. So like these many services much more enough for us. So most of the times you are going to spend with this 3 service, this one, and this one. Okay, so these are also going to be part of this. Okay, so one time usage. Once you use this Azure Key Vault, then that is more enough. Okay, so and you're not going to set up any service at the time of working, but we are going to consume them. We are going to use them. But in this particular sessions, I'm also going to show you how we can set up it. Okay, so if you're only one person in the team, or if you're having only 2 persons in the team, and if you wanted to set up all this environment, definitely these sessions are going to be really helpful. At the time of project, we are going to see how we can do all these things. Okay, so even in the regular sessions also, I'm going to show you how we can do setup of your services. So since we are talking about the storage account, I'm just going through more in detail of your storage account. Now subscription is required. In my case, I'm having a paid subscription, so I'm just going to use it. And in your case, you may have a free trial subscription. And then, so this is one mandatory point. You can see the star, that is 100% is required. And then resource group is required. So what do you mean by this resource group? So again, I'm repeating just for understanding. I'll just walk you through this, but all these details, if you wanted to know more in detail about subscription, resource group, and tenant, and there is one more managed group will be there. Okay, so all those things we don't need to know about it. Those are all completely related to administrators, Azure administrators. For them, it is important. For them, they need to know about each and everything, every point. So how we can move the services from one subscription to other subscription, or one resource group to other resource group. All those things, someone will take care. That is not our job. Our job is processing of the data. Okay, but for understanding why we are going to have this resource group, is a resource group is a container, or a resource group is a bucket. Inside the bucket, you can have items. So your data lake storage Gen 2 is one item, ADF is one item, ADF is one item, and ADB is another item, or everything is items. So all these items you can keep in a bucket. So this bucket, I'm saying a resource group. A resource group is a bucket where we can keep all your related data engineering related items. Okay, so depends on the requirement, they're going to create the resource group. Who is going to create a resource group? Administrators are going to create a resource group. So depends on the type of the services, they're going to create a resource group, or depends on the type of ENV environment, they're going to create a resource group. In our case, we are going to have a dev, UAT, and prod. So like this, we are going to have a resource groups. So dev resource group, UAT resource group, and prod resource group. Okay, so all these resource groups are going to be part of your subscription, and subscription will be part of your tenant. Okay, so if you can go through this DP 900 documentation, I just gave all these details. If you're interested, you can just have a look on it. But we don't need to know about all of them, because they are just more required for administrators, not for us. Now I'm just going to create a resource group here itself. So creation of the resource group is one-time job. You're not going to create again and again. I'm just going to hit on create new. So here I'm just going to say Bhaskar hyphen made 02 a dev. I'm just giving some name here. You can give any name, and underscore will not be allowed. Hyphen will be allowed. Capital characters are not allowed, I guess. Let me check. Capital is allowed. For storage account, it is not going to allow. Let's hit OK. So before that, you can see here what it is saying. A resource group is a container that holds related resources for your Azure solution. Now I'm just going to say hit OK. Then this resource group will be created. So once you create the resource group, then a specific service details are required. If I'm taking the storage account, then storage account details you have to provide. Or if you're taking a Azure Data Factory, then you have to provide Azure Data Factory details. Or if you're taking Azure Databricks, then you have to provide the Azure Databricks details. So here I need to provide the storage account details. So what is the name of the storage account you need to provide? And then there is a reason. I'll talk about it. A reason. And from which region you're taking this storage. So Microsoft is having a various reasons to sell their storage. Okay, so depends on your nearest location, you can take it. So forget about at the time of working, even at the time of working also, it is always recommended to have a storage in the nearest location. So wherever they're having a application, they can keep there only. So they can reduce the network latency. And a region is going to have a data centers. Data center 1, data center 2, and data center 3. Something like this. Okay, so we are not sure we have a capability or we have a feasibility to take the region. We don't have any control on the data centers. So that will be decided by Microsoft itself. We don't need to worry about it because we are not going to be part of administrators. So since we are going to do our setup for our own practice and regular practices, we need to have a storage account here. Without storage, you cannot use the data factory. Without storage, you cannot use the ADB. We know about them. They will be used for data processing. They will be used for data processing. If you don't have the data, then how can you go for data processing? So we need to know how we can set up the storage account, and we need to know how we can set up this Azure Data Factory also. All these things we required. Now let me give the name of the storage account. Bhaskar ADLS test. I'm just giving some name. You can see here. So I'm just giving the storage account name. I'm checking the region, that is Central India is my nearest location. I'm just taking that. And primary service. What is the primary service of your storage account? What is the primary service of your storage account? So here it is going to decide, is that a blob or is that a Gentoo? So that will be decided here. Okay, so for what purpose you are going to do it? In this particular case, you are going to have a blob and ADLS Gentoo. So there is a one more step to say, is that blob or Gentoo?
Yeah. So what is the difference between the Gen 1 and Gen 2? Where it will be getting used?
Okay, yeah. So Gen 1 was deprecated. There is no Gen 1 in the market right now in the Microsoft. Okay, it was deprecated very long ago. Now we have only Gen 2 only. Okay, so here you can see Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is the primary for us. And we can use the same account for Azure files and other also. So ignore about this too, because we are not going to be part of that. We are going to falling under one of them, one of this stories. Okay, so we are going to fall under Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this is for general purpose and this is for big data processing. These two are there in the same storage account. In the same service, we have it. So here I'm just specifying specifically Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. When I go to the next step, there is a one checkbox that decides is that a ADLS Gen 2 or Blob Storage account. So this blob storage is for general purpose storage, like backup files. You're not going to process the data. You're just keeping for some reason. But whatever the data you're going to keep in the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, that you're going to process the data. If you wanted to get the insights on top of your data, then you have to process it. So to process it, you have to take this Azure Data Lake Storage Center. So that is about the primary service here. The primary service we are going to take Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Center. And then just leave everything default. I don't want to talk the redundancy at this point of time. We'll talk about it. And in the next step, that is advanced, I can also go from here or I can go from here. Say hit on advanced. Just leave everything default because we are not administrators. In this particular case, now you can see, in order to store the data, if you go with the blob, what happens is the files or storage will be flattened. Storage is flattened. So that means I wanted to, hierarchical structure is not going to be there here. Every file is going to sit in the same line. No indexing or no hierarchy. Even there may be some folders, but those folders are virtual folders, virtual directories, not physical directories. So that is about the blob. So in order to, when you try to process the data is storing in the blob, it degrades the performance. Because at the leaf level, it has to go and identify because the data will be sitting in the leaf level. No hierarchy here. So everything will be in the same line. Then identifying the files is very difficult. So it takes more time to read this metadata details. So when it comes to the hierarchical namespace or when it comes to the ADLS Gen 2, the files will be hierarchical. So data is going to be stored in the distributed hierarchical structure. This is also distributed, but the problem is they're going to sit in the same line. If I have a hierarchy, something like this, let's say this is a year, and I have a quarter 1, I have a quarter 2, I have a quarter 3, and quarter 4, something like this. If I wanted to get the data, for December, I don't need to check all these files. I can directly go to this directory and inside that I'm just going to take it. You got my point, right? 3 files are there month wise. You can just go and take it. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to say? Any question? Yes, please do not draw anything. Okay. So now I wanted to say when you go for hierarchical namespace, hierarchical structure, then reading will be faster. Reading is faster. So here they're saying if you check the checkbox, then only you're going to get this architecture. If you don't check this checkbox, then it will be like this. So hierarchical namespace is going to accelerate your big data analytics workloads. Hierarchical namespace is going to accelerate your big data analytic workloads. So for that reason, we are going to use. Why Hadoop is why this HDFS was famous for storage is because of this. So the way your Hadoop distributed file system is going to work in the same way, ADLS Gen 2 is also going to work. The only thing is here it is going to store as a file and here it is going to store as an object. It's an internal mechanism. So we don't need to worry about it. Okay, so it is going to distribute the data or it is going to have a hierarchical so that it will be faster to read the data. So when it is going to get this hierarchical namespaces, when you check this checkbox, so then we can say that account, whatever the account that you are creating, that account will be treated as a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account. Just take this.
One question here.
Yeah, please.
In the ADLS also, the data will gonna store in the object format.
That is what I'm saying. ADLS Gen 2 is the ADLS only.
No, in the blob itself, only it will be storing under the object, right?
No, object will be both.
Okay.
Object will be both. How objects are getting stored is matters.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm just selecting that and checkbox is done. And just leave all the options at this point of time. You just review plus create. And once it is reviewed and hit on create. So it is going to take a minute or a couple of minutes to set up the storage account. So meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask me.
So the region related to region which we have selected. So data might be that will be visible across all the regions, right? Is there any kind of data
No.
governance issue?
No, that will be there. Okay, so others cannot access the data. That is not going to be visible for others. If I have a data here, you cannot access my data, right?
Correct. So, yeah.
So if that is the case, no one can take the services. Okay, so I wanted to take the questions if you have. So I'm going to continue this one on tomorrow for next 1 week. There will be light delay will be there to start the session. So once the batch is frozen, then I'm going to start at 7 p.m.
Hi, Bhaskar. Yeah, with respect to Gen 2, you highlighted, right?
Yeah.
So it is same as like database only, means blob also you highlighted, blob storage also. So it is like a file only or something again?
Anything can be stored.
In Gen 2.
In Gen 2 also anything can be stored. In blob also anything can be stored. But what purpose you are storing is important.
Okay, and even we can bring database also, means SQL Server in Gen 2.
No. That is different. I said backup files. When I said .bkp file, that is a file, not a database, right? Did you get my point?
Yes.
The backup files you can store, it's like a drive. How your drive is going to work, in the same way it is also going to work.
Yeah,
How this
physical
drive is
storage.
going, it's like a file, physical storage,
NTFS.
something like drive.
NTFS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a Gen 2.
Yeah, this is a Gen 2.
Yeah.
And even Gen 1 also does the same thing, but the storage mechanism will be different.
Okay. Yeah.
See, if you take a medical shop, if you keep all the medicines at one place, then identifying of the medicine is difficult, right? If you keep them in a hierarchical A, B, C, something like that, then it is easy to go a particular place and identify it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see more in detail on tomorrow's session. Any other question? Anyone?
I think we are good. I'm good on this.
Okay then. Okay, so I'm stopping here because I used to have a meeting at 8 p.m. So I need to stop as early, but mostly like yeah. Please go ahead.
So, like storage account you mentioned. So why we are not creating like directly Gen 2? Means I understand there is no option. So we are going, but what is that making different by creating a storage account?
There will be no different. Previously, two services were there for storage. Instead of having two, they combined together and kept in a single place. They have given option blob or data lake storage Gen 2.
No, my question is why do we need to create a storage account? We
To
can
store the
directly
data.
create Gen 2. Gen 2,
Gen 2
right?
is the Gen 2 itself is the storage. See your storage account. How can you say that is a? How can you say that is a AWS Gen 2? So to create a AWS Gen 2, you have to travel with the storage accounts only. With this service only, you have to go. Is that the question you're asking? What question? Can you repeat your question again?
Means we are actually using the Gen 2, where we need to create the hierarchical structure. But whereas, why do we are creating a storage account? That is the question.
See, through storage account only can create a Gen 2 account. So Gen 2, see, when I say Gen 2 account, you're thinking in different way. So Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 and Blob together is there in the storage accounts. They're saying accounts.
Hmm.
You got my point, right?
I think
So
in the layman terms, we can say that there's a place where we can place our files to process to Azure Data Factory.
yes,
Like this, yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Still, if you have a doubt, we can talk.
No, actually, no, I got the concept which you are highlighting. Only the thing why we are directly not going to Gen 2.
Yeah, previously it
Why
was
we are
there.
going
Previously,
via
yeah,
storage
previously it
account.
was
Yeah.
there, but now they
Okay.
combined together, named it
Okay.
as a storage accounts.
Okay. Yeah, they are grouping. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, then we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.